Finally, on this week's episode, there was a time when almost everyone in Poland got their drinks from a Jew. I spoke with Dynner, author of Yankel's Tavern. What you show is that Jews dominated an industry in Poland in the way that probably no industry today is dominated by any ethnicity. In Poland, 85% of bartenders, of tavern leaseholders, were Jews. It's just shocking.
It's amazing. I mean, it really shows, I think, the degree to which Jews were integrated, not socially, but definitely economically, and in some senses within the social life, because taverns form such a crucial central element to local life. It changes our conception of what Jewish life in Eastern Europe was, because we're so accustomed to this picture of anti-Semitism, violence, and the Holocaust. And, it's crucial that we learn about this violence and destruction. We try to come to terms with it, but it shouldn't inhibit us from learning about this rich history where Poles and Jews coexisted in this situation. The taverns were ultimately owned by the nobility. They would lease them to Jews, and then Jews would be selling the stuff to traveling Jewish merchants, but also local peasants. So you actually have a fair amount of cooperation and coexistence going on, which might surprise those of us who have a very negative image of Jewish life in Poland and Eastern Europe.
And so how did that color Jewish life? Because it's so hard to imagine what Jewish life today would be like if the assumption simply was that there's a Jewish industry. Even to the degree that perception exists about some industries like Wall Street or others in America, it's still very much a minority of people within those industries that are Jewish. Not so here.
So it became very controversial because the tavern was more than a tavern. It was a hotel, it was a restaurant, it was a store, a bank because they would lend money. Jewish tavern keepers were dispensing advice and loans and even medical remedies. That puts them in a position of some power. And if so many tavern keepers are Jews, we're talking at least 85%. It might have been higher because it's hard to tell sometimes from the archival records. Well, in my book, what I show is it creates a great deal of anxiety on the part of non-Jews and social reformers who want to drive Jews out of the liquor trade. They're blaming them for the peasants becoming drunks. And it's not something we condone, but we can understand that anxiety. At the same time, we should always remember that the power that Jews had in this industry was limited. They only leased the taverns, and they did so because the nobility wanted only Jews to be running their taverns.
And the reason why they wanted only Jews running their taverns is pretty curious too.
So in my book, I address this idea of Jewish sobriety. The nobility had other reasons too. Only Jewish tavern keepers could really cater to the needs of traveling Jewish merchants. But the predominant reason seems to be this idea that Jews won't drink up the product, that Jews are sober. Now, there doesn't seem to be a huge problem of alcoholism. I was interested to find there were Jewish alcoholics, but not on the level that you had in Polish Christian society. At the same time, this is right during the rise of the Hasidic movement. And Hasidism really fostered this very robust drinking culture. And so the way I resolved that seeming contradiction was, if you look at Hasidic drinking, it's very regimented, right? You have to drink, you have to do l'chaim, or as they used to call it, a tikkun. It's almost like a cosmic repair by taking a shot of vodka. It has to be attached to a life cycle event, to the Sabbath, Shabbat, to a festival. They found reasons to drink. These reasons were plentiful, but they were still, it wasn't like a freewheeling kind of a drinking atmosphere as you would find in the tavern.